Hello and welcome today. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time. We're going to start with our webinar today, which is titled Commercial Cooking Exposures and Risk Control Services Part 2. This is a two-part series for society insurance agents, and we're very glad that you're here today with us. My name is Steve Ruxlow, and I'll be the facilitator for the program. And I just want to let everybody know that we're doing this remotely. So the team is actually in different locations. We're all dialed in with different connections. And we want you to be aware that, because of that, you could hear a stray dog barking, a siren noise, or some other background noise or something like that. So please bear with us as we're doing that. And as we go along, if you have questions that come up and you see the content, please send those in on the chat function of the webinar software. And we'll review those as we get to the end of the program and hopefully answer your questions then. So, all right. Let's talk a little bit about society insurance and who we are. For those of you that might have missed the part one of the webinar, we just want to share a quick overview of who society insurance is before we begin. We're a regional insurance carrier based in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and we currently write business in 6 states: Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Tennessee, and Minnesota. We've been writing workers' compensation coverage since the beginning of our company in 1915, and today we also offer property, liability, and commercial auto coverage with extensive knowledge and experience in protecting the hospitality industries. Our specialty is providing insurance for select business niches with a focus on the small details that make the biggest difference. Quick little disclaimer as we move through. This information is provided as a convenience to you, and it must not be assumed that it's detected all possible unsafe acts or conditions. The information is not professional advice. It's designed to assist you in recognizing potential unsafe work problems and not to establish compliance with any laws, rules, or regulations. As I mentioned, my name is Steve Ruxlow. I'll be the facilitator today. I'm one of the risk control managers at Society Insurance in the risk control department. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Paul right now.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Furbringer. Thanks for joining us again for part 2 here. I'm a senior risk control rep with Society Insurance. I've been doing this work for over 38 years now. The past 6 have been with Society Insurance. I service the eastern half of Wisconsin. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jarrett Wagner.
Thank you, Paul. As Paul mentioned, my name is Jarrett Wagner. I've been a risk control representative too, and I have been with Society Insurance for a little over 12 years. I started in property, auto, and liability claims handling, and have spent a little over 7 years in risk control. My current territory is most of Chicago, going down south to Joliet, and then all the way east of South Bend, Indiana. Now I'll go ahead and turn over to my colleague Adam to tell you about himself and get the presentation started.
Yes, my name is Adam Olenek, and I am a risk control representative with Society Insurance, and I've been with Society for 5 years. I've been in risk control itself for 7, and then I am a certified safety professional and walkway auditor certificate holder. My main territory is the northwestern side of Wisconsin, and then also the state of Minnesota, and I also assist in Tennessee from time to time. So today, agents will learn more about the basic requirements for assessing commercial cooking exposures, basic controls needed for commercial cooking exposures, and risk control resources available. We dug into some of this already during part 1 of this webinar, so if you missed that, you can view it on Society Insurance's YouTube channel. For now, let's dig a little deeper into the material. We'll now touch base on automatic extinguishing systems. So animal fats, which were once commonly used for cooking, have been mainly replaced with vegetable oils. Vegetable oils require a higher heat to cook the food and also retain heat longer than animal fats. Dry chemical and UL 300 non-compliant wet chemical extinguishing agents are unable to keep the fire suppressed long enough for the equipment and oil to cool adequately. The agent dissipates and the result is a reignition of the fire. So a UL 300 compliance system that uses wet chemical extinguishing agent that takes longer to dissipate and allows the equipment and oils to cool adequately prevents that reignition. So simply put, once the fire is out, we want it to stay out, and a UL 300 approved wet chemical system can do this. Let's take a quick poll question here. How often do you think the automatic extinguishing system needs to be serviced? I'll give you guys a little bit of time to be able to answer this poll.
I see some answers coming in, so that's great. We'll just give it a couple more seconds. Okay. All right, so it looks like 72% with 6 months, 7% with 3 months, 12% with every month, and then 9% with once a year. So the correct answer is every 6 months. So it looks like the vast majority kind of got that one right, which is awesome. So yeah, the National Fire Protection Association came out with that, and then every 6 months it's supposed to be serviced. So we'll continue onward. So how can you tell if the automatic extinguishing system is a compliant wet chemical system versus a non-compliant dry chemical system? So one obvious giveaway is the size of the discharge nozzles that you can find in the hood area. So if you notice the smaller size of the discharge nozzle, which is approximately 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch in diameter, like you can see in the photograph, let's compare this with the next photograph, which is of a dry chemical AES system. So you can notice the large size difference right away, which is approximately 2 inches in diameter for the nozzle. And then another way to be able to tell the difference, besides looking at the servicing tank itself, would be to check the actual discharge tank that holds the chemical agent for the system. On the tank, there will be a placard that says wet or dry for the system, and the system should have that UL 300 stamp of approval. All of this information is readily available on the chemical agent cabinet or the chemical agent tank. So in this slide, you can see that on that lower right photo. You can see the UL listed, the 300 on it, and then the wet chemical system. And then this is a picture of the actual tank system. So we'll go to the next one. And then this is an example of a cabinet, which is mounted with the AES system inside of it. And then you can also see in that lower right-hand photo, you're going to see the R102 wet chemical fire suppressant system meets the standards of UL 300. So everything is listed right on that box as well. So now we'll talk about red tagging and non-compliant systems. If the restaurant is non-compliant to the UL 300 standard, the servicing company shall mark the system with a non-compliance tag. So in Minnesota, this is going to be a white tag, but it's actually called a red tag. So the color of the tag is white. But if you call the contractor, they will tell you that the system has been red tagged for non-compliance. This is because typically the non-compliance tags are red. On the tag itself, it will state it's non-compliant and will give a brief reason as to why the system is non-compliant on the actual tag. The tag will also have the date of the last visit and the servicing technician's initials of who is out there. If the contractor's servicing report can be found, more information about the issue could be found out, and the contractor could be asked how to correct the issue to help make the system compliant. So this is the manual pull release for the AES. They're supposed to be located in the path of travel that will lead to an exit in the kitchen area. They should be clearly visible, which means no boxes or fridges or other items that should be in front of this device. It should have clear and unobstructed access to it. This is because this device acts like a manual override for the system. If a fire was to occur in the kitchen area and the fusible links are too coated in grease, the automatic extinguishing system may not function correctly because the links won't break in time
for the system to activate quickly. An employee pulling this on the way out of the building can help ensure the system will activate, which could potentially save lives and property. So we're going to cover inspection and maintenance, and all actuation components must be inspected and shall be serviced every 6 months. The AES should also be serviced immediately after any system activation. Fusible links should be replaced at the interval required by the manufacturer. Nozzles must have protective caps to prevent grease from accumulating inside of the nozzles. For more information about the AES system, please see the safety video provided by Society Insurance on our YouTube channel. Simply search best methods for stopping cooking equipment fires. But for now, I'm going to turn everybody over to Jarrett for a quick poll question.
Thank you very much, Adam. So before we continue on with the presentation, we'll try our final poll question of the day. How often does the Class K fire extinguisher need to be serviced? Please choose between one of the 3 options. We'll give it a moment.
A lot of answers coming in here. That's good. Okay.
All right. So the answer to this one, which it looks like 70% of the individuals got correct, is annually. Now, this annual inspection goes for all portable fire extinguishers that you'll find inside the building, not just the Class K. As myself and my other risk control colleagues conduct our risk control evaluations, we're looking to ensure all extinguishers are properly mounted. While there may be specific requirements depending on local jurisdictions, a good practice is to make sure that they are always visible and easily accessible. In the event of a fire or other emergency, you do not want employees scrambling to find these extinguishers, and you do not want them struggling to lift off the floor. Waist high is a pretty good rule, roughly about 3 feet off the floor. The photograph that you'll see right here is an example of a Class K. You may also hear us refer to it as a silver fire extinguisher. This particular piece of extinguisher is required within 30 feet of commercial cooking equipment. The typical fire extinguishers that you see out at properties are red. These are not suitable for the cooking lines. The reason for this being is these red ones are typically water-based. These silver Class K extinguishers do have a wet chemical which will help quench a fire instead of spreading it around by adding water to the situation. Let's talk a little bit about deep bath fryers. If you'll take a look here, you'll notice the picture on the right is a range top. It looks like it has 6 burners on there. This is immediately adjacent to a set of deep bath fryers. If my colleagues and I see this when we're out in the field, this would generate a recommendation by the representative. You can satisfy that in one of 2 ways, which are listed here on the screen. Either provide a minimum of 16-inch clearance between the deep bath fryer and any surface flames of adjacent appliances, or you can provide a minimum 8-inch high steel or a tempered glass baffle plate installed between the fryer and surface flames of the adjacent appliance. So for the most part, we will see these 8-inch high steel baffles used. And this is mainly chosen because if you visit restaurants, there's really hardly ever enough space that you can get 16 inches of clearance between pieces of cooking equipment. And the reason that we asked for this clearance or for an 8-inch high barrier is if you spend any time in a kitchen, you'll notice chefs and line cooks moving extremely fast. Occasionally, the fryer basket may be placed into or removed from the deep bath fryer with excessive force or speed. This can cause grease droplets to spray onto nearby surfaces, And if those nearby surfaces are open flame, you are going to ignite the grease droplets and start a fire. Just as a side note, while the photo on the left may potentially satisfy requirements with an 8-inch high steel plate, it's kind of difficult to gauge from the photo. If you notice behind there is an outlet behind the fryer that should be covered as it's not in use. Here we've got a couple photos of inside or the interior of deep fat fryer cabinets. According to the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, 21% of all restaurant fires are caused by deep fat fryers. Most of these fires are avoidable with routine maintenance and proper cleaning. As you've heard us talk about over the past 2 webinars, grease is highly combustible. Allowing any grease to build up inside of a deep fat fryer cabinet creates a fire hazard. The interior of the fryer cabinet should be cleaned at minimum on a weekly basis by the staff to prevent this grease buildup. Over the past couple of years, society has attempted to focus our efforts on deep fat fryers. As a result, you may have started to see opportunities for improvements or recommendations which state the deep fat fryer is more than 5 years old and has not been serviced or inspected by a qualified equipment service contractor. Please have the deep fat fryers inspected and serviced by a qualified commercial cooking appliance contractor. Cooking equipment should always be maintained in accordance with owner's manuals. In almost every case, the manufacturers of cooking equipment state servicing should be done on an annual basis by a qualified contractor. While annual maintenance would be preferred and ideal, we do understand that it may go overlooked from time to time. After reviewing statistics related to deep fat fryers, it was determined that fryers older than 5 years are more susceptible to breaking down and starting these fires. And this is the reason why society reps have started to ask the age of fryers during our evaluations to gauge whether or not it's time to be serviced by a qualified contractor. Properly cleaning and maintaining fryers greatly reduces the potential for starting a kitchen fire. Let's talk a little bit about greasy rags and linens for a bit. These grease-laden rags, aprons, and linens in the kitchen area should never be stored in a laundry bag overnight. That's the photo on the left. You'll see this blue mesh bag. This is typically provided by the linen company. Even though it is provided by the linen company, it's still a fire hazard due to the grease-laden materials being kept on any linens. This is a source of spontaneous heating. What will happen is the grease will mix with some of the cleaning chemicals, and if you have oxygen introduced into the equation, you're going to get a chemical reaction that can result in spontaneous combustion. This does generate enough heat sufficient to ignite the combustible towels, linens, and rags. Not to scare anyone, but this is possible even with clean, warm laundry that is stored on shelves, but it's much more common that we find it with soiled or greasy linens, which is where we focus most of our efforts. In efforts to combat this potential fire hazard, all kitchen rags, aprons, and linens which are exposed to grease should be stored in a metal container with a metal lid, and that is the photo on the right. Every evening, employees should make certain the lid is tightly secured to the garbage can. That'll make sure that there's no oxygen being introduced into the equation, and with no oxygen, there's no fire. I'll wrap up my part of the presentation with a little bit on washer and dryers, kind of building up on the spontaneous combustion. It may be a little difficult to see, but this warning label is found on the inside of a washer and a dryer. The very first 2 lines say no washer can completely remove oil, and do not dry anything that has ever had any type of oil on it, including cooking oils. The reason for this warning is because this particular piece of equipment is not commercially rated. Linens that are exposed to grease should never be placed in any washers or dryers unless they are specifically rated as commercial grade machines which are used for greasy material extraction. In conjunction, most times commercial grade detergents are not used, and this is also a source for potential fire hazards. Both of these warnings are specifically stated in owner's manuals. Any unrated laundry equipment should be removed from the building. If you remember back in our first presentation, we talked about Underwriters Laboratory and how they rate equipment specific for use. You would need to find something that is specifically rated for grease extraction. This is very rare to find in normal restaurants. Consideration should really be given to a linen service for all laundry needs. And then for any additional information regarding grease-laden rags, just search Society Insurance's YouTube channel for storing and cleaning oily rags. I will go ahead and turn over the remainder of the presentation to Paul.
Hey, thanks, Jared and Adam. That's really some great information on the commercial cooking exposures and controls. Now, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and review the risk control resources and services that are available to you, our agents, and to all our accounts. If you look at the bottom of the screen there, you're going to see the Risk Management tab. This is what you'll find when you go to the Society, www.society.com website. This is where you can find the various services available. The first two are the Risk Control Library and the Safety Video Program. I'll discuss those in a little bit. The Education and Training tab, here you can find like the webinar when we're done today and all previous webinars. If you missed part one, it's really exciting, so you might want to go back and check it out on the website there. But you'll find all the taped webinars on that site as well. And then the last one will be the programs and discounts that we have with some valued partnerships out there. But first, a little bit about our risk control staff. Our risk control staff is made up of a variety of individuals, including risk control reps, risk control reps 2, who are a little more seasoned, and then the senior risk control reps, and they're the real seasoned ones, the ones that have been around a while. Some call us the eyes and ears of the underwriters in the field. We start with a basic risk control survey to assess the exposures and controls from an underwriting standpoint. This is something we do for all our accounts. Now, all policyholders with a premium of $75,000 and above are assigned to a senior risk control representative, and these accounts are set up on what we call continuing service. And continuing service is defined as maintaining regular documented contact with the insured. At least annually, we schedule an on-site meeting to review the past year's loss history for all lines of coverage, address any specific safety-related concerns on the account, and conduct a tour of the facility. I have several large restaurant chains with multiple locations. So part of my service agreement with them is I meet at the corporate office once a year where we review the loss runs, go through questions and concerns, and then I pick 3 or 4 of the restaurants to go visit. Change this up every year so we're not doing the same ones year after year. But a service account is one that warrants or desires more frequent risk control service to monitor their loss exposures, improve or develop their safety program, and to mitigate current loss trends. These accounts could have very few employees, but very large property values, such as the case of a property management firm, or it could have a lot of employees and very little property exposure. Our goal with service accounts is to be a value-added service from Society Insurance. What we are going to do is focus on the customer education, program development, and training. We meet with each service account after the start of a new policy term to develop what we call a service plan. And people ask me, well, Paul, what's a service plan? Well, it's very simply put, a service plan is an outline of the goals and objectives for the policy term that is developed with the insured. Again, we'll review the loss runs and we sit down and we say, we have a lot of slips and falls, especially in the kitchen area. So our service plan may include such things as developing a footwear policy, reviewing the cleaning procedures, make sure we're using the proper degreaser chemicals, things like that. And the plan will consist of objectives to be achieved, again, such as the development of a footwear program. And the objectives will then list the tasks that we need to complete that objective, including who is responsible for doing what and by what dates. We review this service plan throughout the policy term and update it at least once a year. The idea is to develop a new plan each policy term to meet the insured's needs. Things change. We may solve one problem one year, and we may have something come up for the next. So some objectives will carry over into the next policy term or be repeated from year to year as needed. So that is kind of a brief outline of what a service account is like. I did mention that risk control tab, and if you look again at the section, the bottom one is programs and discounts. Let's discuss these value-added partnerships. The first one is IntelliCore. IntelliCore provides a discount to our policyholders for employee screening services such as credit checks, criminal background checks, motor vehicle record checks, and other employment-related topics. Criminal background checks are something that are very important if you've got individuals that will be dealing with money, dealing with minors, acting as security staff. A lot of the taverns may have a security person sitting at the front door on the night checking IDs and kind of watching things. A lot of accounts, when I talk to them, they think, well, I just do a civil records check with the state and that should be good enough. The big difference between a civil check and a more secure criminal background check is the civil court record check is specifically for the state that you are in. When you do a criminal background check, that's nationwide. So you may have had someone that had problems in another state and decided to move to your state, and if you check your civil records, you won't find anything on this individual. I also mentioned motor vehicle record checks. It's very important for an owner of a business to know who's going to be driving their vehicles. What type of record do they have? Or a lot of people nowadays with the COVID stuff are driving their own personal vehicles doing delivery. So it's important to get a good idea of what the person's driving record is like as they will be out there representing your account. And for more information regarding our customer discounts with IntelliCore, again, visit the societyinsurance.com and under the risk management, look under the programs and discount tab. Another one of our valued partnerships is ServSafe. Society Insurance is very heavy into the hospitality industry, especially a lot of restaurants, bars, taverns, and things. ServSafe provides discounts on food safety and alcohol awareness training programs. ServSafe is a food and beverage safety training and certification program administered by the U.S. National Restaurant Association. The programs are accredited by ANSI, which is the American National Standards Institute, and the Conference of Food Protection. Our policyholders are eligible for a 10% discount on all ServSafe products. For more information regarding the customer discounts with ServSafe, again, go to the Programs and Discount tab under the Risk Management tab on our website. And finally, we do have our additional resources. The first one is our free online safety video service, which is available to all policyholders and all the agents as well if you want to do some training, and it's free. There's no service to this. We partnered with an outside safety video vendor several years ago called Safety Source to make their library of safety films available to our policyholders. Safety Source updates these videos on a regular basis. They remove old, outdated ones. They add new ones in there. And these safety videos include ones specifically geared toward the hospitality industry, as well as a wide range of topics for various other industries. The program is really simple to sign up for under the Risk Management tab, under the Video Safety Program that you see there. Under the Risk Management tab, you'll also see the Risk Control Library. We have a vast variety of safety-related handouts that are beneficial to our policyholders, and these are broken down by the type of industry that it relates to. Some are for bartenders, some are for kitchen staff, some is for housekeeping staff. So it's very easy to go find some things that will help in some safety training with that. And finally, as Adam mentioned several times, and so did Jarrett, we do have a variety of YouTube videos that we made in-house on various safety topics. You might remember them discussing the ones on deep fat fryer safety or proper storage of soiled rags. So to find that, just go to www.youtube.com/Society Insurance, and you'll be able to find a listing of all the YouTube videos we have made. And with that, we would like to take time to answer some questions that you might have. Again, you can type them into the webinar control panel on the right where you see chat and hit return. If feel free to send them now if you haven't already done so, and we will do our best to answer them. And it looks like a couple already came in during the presentation. So, Steve, could you read those for us, please?
Yeah, actually, we've got a couple that are related to the greasy and oily rags. The first one, I know that a customer may be bringing linens home or to a laundromat to be laundered. Is this acceptable?
This is Jared again. Short answer, no. Please, if you are made aware that a customer is bringing their linens home or to a third-party laundromat to be cleaned, do not let them do this, or please express the dangers in this. Even though most commercial laundromats use commercial washers and dryers, these are not specifically rated for grease extraction and should not be used to clean or launder your linens from the restaurant. If you do damage the equipment or start a fire, you may be held liable for that. That's the same reason for do not bring them home. You do not want to start your house on fire.
All right, thank you. There's another one related to oily rags, but it's got a little bit of a twist to it. So the question was, would the warning that you displayed on residential washers and dryers also apply to clothing items for somebody that works in a machine shop that might be dealing with motor-type oils?
Yes, I think if the warning on the machine says all oils, so that would include cooking oils, mechanics oils, anything that is an oily substance or greasy substance should not be put into a washer or dryer that are not specifically rated as grease or oil extraction machines.
Okay. Here's a question. If the customer has a business that's only open 3/4 of the year, would they still need to service their AES system twice a year?
I can take that one. Yes, they do, according to the National Fire Protection Association or the National Fire Code. So if they are open 6 months or less, they would only have to do it once a year. But as soon as you pass that 6-month marker of being open, you'd have to service it twice.
Okay, thank you. Here's a question. Does Society Insurance have a list of approved vendors who do the inspections of AES systems and hoods and solid fuel systems?
We do not have.
Oh,
sorry. We do not have an approved list of vendors. As you most likely know, we do not recommend specific companies to be used. Google searches or talking to other restaurant owners is a good way to find out what type of services or can be provided for your equipment, your exhaust hoods. But we are not able to recommend any specific vendors.
I could add to that, you would want to make sure that whoever you're choosing is certified to do the work that they're doing for you. Okay. Here's a question related to service. If the premium of the customer is below $75,000, can they still get assistance on safety program development?
Oh yeah, I'll take that one, Steve. Absolutely. Our goal is to work with the customers and service whatever needs that they do have. We do have a wide variety of sample safety programs that we can send out and work with the accounts to develop their own programs. We will not write a program for a company. I've been asked that question multiple times for obvious legal reasons, but we do have some great sample programs. We send it to them and we can go out and meet with them and kind of go over what they need to have for that. So typically, if any of you agents have any accounts that you want some specific things done on, feel free to contact Matt Anderson or Steve Ruxlow, our risk control managers, and they will assign it to the appropriate personnel. One other question I get commonly is, Paul, do you provide monthly safety training? And to that, I say typically no, we do not do that because we don't have the time to do that with all the accounts. Again, when I set up the service plan, a lot of the accounts I meet with once a year, and I will attend a safety meeting, whether it's with managers or general managers or all employees, and be part of that meeting and be a presenter there. But that's another reason why we joined with Safety Source, because there's some excellent safety videos, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes long, that can be used, and it's available 24/7. So you can have someone sit down in the break room and watch a video. We add no charge to you.
Excellent, thank you. One other question here. You mentioned servicing deep fat fryers. How could a customer find someone that is qualified to do that?
A couple different options for that. The easiest one is to look at the manufacturer of the cooking equipment. Usually you could find that on the nameplate right on the front of the deep fat fryer or any equipment for that matter. If you do a search on their website, they usually will have a list of approved vendors who have been trained specifically on their equipment and how to service and maintain. If you're not having any luck on that end, if you do a quick Google search for cooking equipment, servicing, maintenance, deep fat fryers, you will find quite a few who are serviced or who are able to service those. And again, just make sure these are qualified individuals. And you'll always want to make sure, like for any services, that they provide you a certificate of insurance prior to starting any work.
Very good. I don't see any other questions coming in. I'm just going to scan through the window there. No questions left. So looks like we've handled everything there. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you to everybody for attending today. And we're going to go ahead and close down the webinar. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.